My husband is in the process of getting a green card right now, and it is so incredibly expensive. I just put all the numbers together and let me just break it down how expensive it is. Starting off, if you want to get a lawyer, it is incredibly expensive. Right now we are paying about $3,000 for hours, and that is just on the really cheap end. So after we got the lawyer, we had to pay for the I-130, which is the petition for alien relative. That costs $625 just to file. Next is the form I-485, and that is the adjustment of status. That is $1,440 just to file. And if you want to be able to work while you're waiting for your green card, you have to file for a work authorization card, and through the green card, it costs $260. On top of that, to even file for the green card in general, you have to do a medical exam, and that costs $318 just to get the exam done. And you have to be fully caught up on your vaccinations. There are a total of 6 that you could possibly get. My husband got 5 out of the 6, which sucks. And that was about $485 for 5 vaccines. Now, obviously, there could be more fees on top of that. I honestly have no idea. That's just what I know from now, our process. The total is a whopping $6,128. I personally am a full-time student, so I am not currently working. And my husband can't work because he legally is not allowed to. So can you imagine how hard it is for so many people to get their green card or to even start because they just don't have the support to? So if you're going through the process, you are not alone. There are so many people out there that are really having a hard time. And I just hope that maybe someday it'll be a little bit more affordable.
So wait a minute. Let me put this in perspective. What all of her costs total, which half of that cost was lawyer fees, that the total cost was $6,100. And they are telling you, and this is what I've been hearing for a long time, is that it is way too expensive for you to be able to get a green card or become a legal citizen of the United States of America. All right, so let me put this in perspective for real, for real. If you are trying to come over here and live a better life and all of that stuff, especially if you are dealing with somebody else that you are getting married to, I personally, and y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the chat, I personally don't think that paying $6,000 in order to come over here and truly change your life is an eye-popping, too expensive price. I believe that the price should be significantly higher and that you should go through a more rigorous process. Most of those costs was just making sure that we not, shouldering more of the burden from a taxpayer perspective of you getting your shots, you getting your vaccinations, your application fees, processing. I'm pretty sure that it has to go through a lot more administration. They probably got to do background checks and all of that type of stuff. I'm sure that, a lot of those costs are associated with that. And then they also chose to go through a lawyer, which obviously she said that cost them about $3,000. And so to sit here and tell me that $3,000 to $6,000, personally, I don't believe that's too steep of a price for people to have to pay. And one of the reasons I don't think that that's too steep of a price is because if you go and look at the requirements for you to be able to live in other countries, you already got to have a job. You already got to have income. You have to prove that your income is above a certain threshold or amount, and then it varies depending on how old you are or if you're in retirement status, right? And so basically what they're doing is they're siphoning money from the United States of America in order for them to be able to boost up their own country, boost up their own economy, boost up their own spending. They don't have to necessarily provide you with a job, but you need to have income coming in already, and you have to have a certain net worth, and you have to renew the process depending on whatever country that you're in, and then it goes significantly higher for the quality of the country. So you can't just go over somewhere else and then apply and say, you know what, I want to spend $6,000, become a citizen. That way I can also take up room in your economy, run up a bag, take care of business, all of this other type of stuff. And then I also deserve the rights, the same rights as a regular American citizen in the United States of America. It's not our fault that you're a student. And I do know personally that you should be able to work and go to school full time at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you go part time. That is a personal choice. That is a personal problem. That should not be the shoulder and the bearing of the American people. Because what I hear from that is basically claiming to be a victim while at the same time having a conversation about how your husband should be able to work inside of the United States of America and have a work visa. No, if you bring them over here and then you sponsor them, it's the same thing with men. For the longest, I've always understood, or at least thought, and I don't know the process because I never did brought a chick over here. You know what I'm saying? In order to marry her or anything like that. We used to call those, what is those? Something brides, where you can like pick them out of the back of a magazine. Some of y'all know. Some of y'all old enough to understand that, but we used to understand, or at least I thought, that if a person brought a chick over here, and this is the difference between men and women, is that if a person brought a chick over here, then he would solely become responsible for whether or not they did what they were supposed to do, and he had to commit financially to making sure that they was taken care of for a long time. Now that we have feminism and we have a lot of chicks becoming passport sisters, and they want to come over here or they want to marry somebody that came over here illegally, now they want to sit and complain about the cost and the burden because they in school or they're not working or they don't make enough money or they don't feel like paying $6,000 is a reasonable amount when you throw in the court and the lawyer fees and all of that type of stuff. They don't believe that the price is reasonable when now that I'm hearing it for the first time for myself, I'm like, I don't really understand what the problem is. I thought that they was paying 20 and 30 and $40,000. So you telling me all you got to do is come up with $6,000 and you can get your green card and be on the pathway to citizenship in the United States of America? Come on, man. Listen, I just honestly think that people are finding any excuse and any reason to complain about the standards that we have in the United States of America, which is, in my opinion, significantly lower. The barrier to entry is significantly lower for you to do the right thing. Meanwhile, they still over here undocumented, still over here illegal, probably working under the table, because the other question that I then have is, how are y'all surviving and what are you doing in order to feed yourself? Looks like you healthy, looks like you well taken care of, well, looks like you well put together, all of that. And I'm not saying that she's a bad person or that she's wrong, because she's just explaining the cost. And so I appreciate that. And I always want to link back to the content creator, regardless of whether I agree with him or not. The link will be in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But the point that I'm just making is, how much lower should we make the barrier for people to be legal inside of the United States of America? The only reason that she's complaining is because she's not working or she's not running up a bag or whatever like that. There's Americans here that is not fully taken care of and doing what they're supposed to do, which I believe that a lot of that may be self-inflicted wounds. But again, I always have to ask the question because I think it's a reasonable question. And now I'm going to pose a question to you guys inside of the chat. What do you think is a reasonable amount? And did you expect for the number to be higher if you didn't know? Or did you expect for the number to be lower? Because basically what she's telling me is that the real number is around $3,000. But then they had the lawyer, because I'm pretty sure that you can do some of this stuff by yourself. But I'm sure that they also suggest that you get a lawyer. So let's just go with the $6,000 number with the lawyer. What do you guys think is a reasonable number for people that want to get a green card? And did you expect for it to be higher, lower, or around that amount? And do guys automatically have to deal with this same situation, and have they been for a long time, while not complaining about it if they decided that they wanted to get somebody a green card over here in the United States of America? Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.